Hello, I'm Rachel. Welcome to my channel. If you recognize my outfit from my last video, it's because it's the same day. I just finished filming the other one, but I meant to do both of the videos together, but I realized I had way more houseplants than I thought I had, whatever. So I decided to make that a separate video, and now I'm going to show you all of the houseplant maintenance that I have to do this week. So I was gone for about 5 days, and most of my plants were watered like the day before, but this is the second day I've been back. So it's been like 8 days since I watered them last, and some of them I didn't water since the week before that too, because they're succulent types of plants and they didn't need it. A couple of my plants that generally need to be watered a little sooner than the other ones are struggling a little bit and they really need to be taken care of. I also have some foliage that needs to be trimmed off. This is just like every week I usually go through and I pick around my plants and I'll dust them and I clean around them. I've also had some accidents with my cats, mostly my kitten, I'm sure. She goes and bothers my cat, and my cat tries to make her leave him alone, or they decide to play, and anyways. So I had to clean up some messes, which I already took care of, but there are some other little remnants of things. First, I'm going to clean the outsides, not the outsides of my tanks. I'll clean that last, but the glass, I need to clean the insides of that. I just use a sponge that's like a natural sponge that will biodegrade. And then I need to get down all of my hanging plants, not all of them, but I have 3 of them that I like to get down and water them in my kitchen sink. And then I'll just water my plants and dust them and take care of all the dead foliage, I guess. We might move some around, we'll see, I don't know. But yeah, let's go take care of things. I was going to fertilize my houseplants with my fish tank water today, but I cannot find my siphon, which most of my houseplants I do normally fertilize with my fish tank water don't actually need to be watered, so that's working out pretty good, I guess. I like to push my snails out of the way so I don't hurt them, and I make sure to leave algae for them also, but they don't really get the cracks, like the corners where the silicone is, so I make sure to get all the algae off of those. In this tank I have some oscilloscinclids, so I definitely make sure to leave enough algae for them, but I like to clean the front just so that way I can still see inside my fish tank and it doesn't look awful. But I love having all of my houseplant propagations in this tank because that way the guppies and the white cloud babies can go and hide in the roots, and I actually get more fish instead of just the other fish eating all the babies like what would normally happen. I'm watering my Hoya and my Syninga Paper Moon in the sink because my Hoya, I like to dust it this way because there's so many leaves and they're all so close together, it's just impossible to dust otherwise, and it really seems to like having a bath. But I'm hoping that soon it will bloom for me this next season or 2, I don't know. I've had it for a while, hoping it would bloom. It's always pushing out new growth, but no little flower peduncles, so we shall see. I water my Syninga Paper Moon this way just because it doesn't have a bottom to the pot that would catch the water, so that way it doesn't make a mess. I did make sure to put up all of my hanging like strands from my macrame so that way the kitten wouldn't attack anything while I was gone and pull down any plants. I didn't want to come home to that kind of disaster. But I'm getting all my fertilizers. I keep them all in the same place, but I'm not using my African violet fertilizer this week because I'm going to fertilize my orchids, and I can use the same fertilizer for both. It works fine because they're basically just blooming, more acidic kind of blooming fertilizers, and so they work well for each other. But I'm using a full ratio of cactus fertilizer this week just because I haven't fertilized them for a while and they all just had bloomed, and I'm not going to fertilize them this winter, so I just wanted to give them a full dose for whatever reason. I usually only give them like a quarter of the ratio that you normally give them because succulents don't really need that much, but this fertilizer, it's like a 2-1-1 or something fertilizer where it produces more flowers for your plants. Most of my succulents need watered either like usually twice a week, but some of them it's only like once a month, and others like every 2 months. And then like my Orchids, which was the first one I watered, that one needs to be watered every week. Most of my Kalanchoes like to be watered every week. And if they're propagations, then it's more than once a week sometimes. I don't normally even fertilize my rubber trees, but in that area, my rubber tree was the only other thing that needed to be watered, so I just went ahead and watered it. It'll be fine, I'm sure. This is an organic fertilizer, so it's not going to hurt anything. I'm going to be fertilizing my Christmas cactus today for the last time until after they bloom, because you fertilize them and then you don't really water them much at all, and then they should bloom. So hopefully I can get a good bloom this year. Last year was pretty lame. I don't actually ever fertilize my peperomias or my pileas, but today I am because I felt like it. I don't know why. I just did. Usually they only get fish tank water for fertilizer like every once in a while, because they really like the succulents, don't need much fertilizer at all, but I thought that they might appreciate it for some reason today, because nothing else over there actually need to be watered other than my succulents. And so over here, this is a western facing window, so most of the succulents need to be watered, especially the sedums and the graptosedums. Those all need watered. My cactuses could get watered, so I watered them anyways. But yeah, everything in this western window needs a good water, especially that echeveria. That one is pushing tons of babies right now. And you can really tell when they need to be watered, because the leaves will pucker, like they'll shrivel a little bit, or they'll be a little soft. That could mean that you're overwatering them, but if you're not watering them every week, or you're not watering them, you know, like all the time, then that's a good way to tell. Over here I have a jade plant and a kalanchoe and a string of pearls that all need to be watered. I'll come back later with a regular houseplant fertilizer and water the rest of them, if like the ones that need actually some water. Not all of them do though. And then I have some more whatever succulent plants that these ones generally need watered every week. Now that my other hanging houseplants have drained, I'm just getting my lipstick plant, and I'm going to water that one in the sink too, because it's a really big pot and it's kind of hard to actually water when it's up. And then I'm also going to tip it to make sure that it doesn't have too much water left in it, so that way it can drain out a little better. I water my maidenhair fern in the sink like this every 2 to 3 days, so that way it can stay happier until it gets into my new terrarium that I'm building. And I am just going to be filling up a separate pitcher with filtered water for my prayer plants, because they need filtered water for sure. And I just am going to water them like normal, because they need watered usually about every week. Sometimes about every 10 days, it depends. Sometimes they can go longer though. It really, I don't know. Those plants are a mystery sometimes. I'm just dumping half of a gallon into my other pitcher so that way it's easier to water. And I'm going to be watering my angel wing begonia, and I'm trying out fertilizer in it because I want it to grow more. I'm watering my Hoya and my philodendron cellulum in this rotating sort of way, so that way it goes all the way around the whole plant. It soaks the whole top. It can drain all the way through, but it's not going to be too much water for them, especially because the cellulum is more of a bulb sort of a plant and I don't want it to rot. These two plants need a little bit of cleanup. This Hoya had a little bit of breakage when I got it a few months ago, bringing it home, and so some of the leaves have now finally died. So I'm just cutting those off, and then my cellulum had some spider mites earlier last year, and so I'm just going to be trimming off another one of the leaves that's not looking as great, so that way it can put more energy into nicer looking leaves. I'm just making sure to clean out all of the dead matter out of my fish tank, any propagations that didn't make it and didn't do so well. And then like my Tradescantia, that needs to be cleaned fairly often just because it lives in there and it grows. And you know, Tradescantias have a lot of, I don't know, I just have to clean them a lot. The cat and now the kitten too like to drink out of the fish tank. They don't eat any of my plants or bother them too much, but sometimes the plants get pushed out of their cups, and so I have to push them back in and find better spots for them sometimes as well. I just move them around and make sure that everyone has a nice happy spot so that way they can keep growing and their roots don't dry out. This jasmine, oh my goodness, I was so impressed. I actually got some of it to propagate. It was amazing. So I like to open up my door every day to get a little bit of airflow. I also turn on my fan. The door also has a window so everyone gets a little bit more light. So my orchids, I just bring them all to the kitchen, and then about 2 times a month or just once a month I'll fertilize them, and I give them a smaller ratio than what the packaging says because that is not an organic fertilizer. I will be getting an organic fertilizer eventually because I don't like to use inorganic ones. They just have a lot more risk to them, I feel like. And then I just water them to soak all of the bark really good. I don't even always water my orchids every week. Sometimes I only water them like twice a month just because they don't always need it. This one has a lot of roots growing out of the pot, so I'm making sure to really drench those good as well. And then I'm going to be tipping my pots over so that way any water that's collected inside of the leaves will run out. And then with this pot, it doesn't have any bottom drainage, so I just drain it out the side. And I just make sure that the leaves don't have too much water down inside of them because I don't want that to promote any rot. So 2 of my orchids have bloomed and now it's time to trim them up. I just go down to like the first possibility where there could be a bud forming, and you just go down and you look to see where there's kind of a papery, not quite leaf sort of a thing. And if it's swollen, then there is a good chance of there being a bud. If it's not swollen, then you probably won't get a bud, but you know, there's always a chance. So I figure I might as well take a chance. And then I could have 2 branches of flowers, which would be amazing. And now I'm just using the rest of my orchid fertilizer water to water my African violets. This one only needs watered about every 2 weeks. My other ones are in much smaller pots, so they need to be watered every week. And this one is pretty big, and it's growing kind of weird because it was in a pot with a whole bunch of African violets that I've actually separated them a little bit, but they need their leaves cleaned off a little more just because they're growing so oddly, and yeah. But it loves being in this northern light, which I was really surprised. So the Cyclamen, it's going through a little bit of a phase. It should be back and happy again this next week, but I'm cleaning off all the dead leaves. It reminds me a lot of my oxalis, the way that it dies back for a while and then comes right back. Also, the papery feel of the leaves and how I clean them is pretty similar. Oh, so my last plant that needs to be watered is my Marimo. I have this big Marimo, and when I got it, I actually got it off of Wish. I have a video all about that too that I'll link for you, but it came with 2 little bits of moss that I've been working on growing and rolling into little balls to keep them growing into bigger Marimos. It'll take a long time, but eventually it will work fine. I use my filtered water for this so that way I don't get a bunch of mineral buildup, because mineral buildup is no fun to clean and it's really bad where I live sometimes. And I just roll it into a ball because it's not in a lake where it has the tide rolling it, and that's how they actually form. So I just make sure to roll it myself. Same with these little babies. They have been growing actually fairly well. So now it's just time to start rolling them to keep them into ball shape so they can grow into little balls. You can clean your Marimo, and you really should, especially if it's in like a fish tank. Only keep it in a cooler fish tank, like maybe with a betta, but that you should clean every week. Make sure other moss isn't trying to outcompete it, and you can put it in a big bowl of water to soak it and swish it around and get it really clean because they can get very dirty. Even if you have it in a container by itself but there's no lid to it, you will need to probably do that every couple weeks or so. And I like to just clean off the outside of the glass with the same filtered water, and I use a microfiber cloth just to dust it to make everything just shiny and clear and pretty. Marimos though are literally one of the easiest houseplants. Probably Marimos and air plants are the easiest. I love them. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have any questions about the kinds of fertilizers I use or when I water and stuff, if I didn't make any of that clear enough for you, please do leave those in the comment section below so that way I can answer you to the best of my ability. A lot of this is just guesswork for the most part, or slowly you'll get this ability to know how much water to give your plants and when to water them. It's just, you know, and really it's actually not as hard as we try to put on ourselves this pressure of watering our plants perfectly. Just trying not to overwater them, of course, is the most important part, but you know, it's really not that hard once you kill enough plants and figure it out. I mean, really, it's just a plant and you can always replace it. And then once you get good at it, then you'll have a lush urban jungle that's not behind me right now. All that I have is dishes, so that's cool. But yeah, I do hope you found this video helpful and informative. I do have another video like this that I will put in the description box and in the iCard, and it will be part of my houseplant playlist too, because you can go through in my playlist and just watch all of my houseplant videos. I put all my tours and my hauls along with it as well. So those are a little longer, the tours especially, those are my longest videos, but if you love those, I have a whole playlist on just my tours and a whole playlist on just my hauls, and they'll be linked in the iCard as well, wherever it is. I think it's over here. So, or over here. No, it's over here. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a really great week. Bye!